So how about this? How about this? All right, we're gonna go through together and do half of the bumper, trimming it. I mean, or you guys tell me, let me know in the comments. Let me know if just trimming out half of the bumper is enough. Because I think that shows you everything that, and then I'm just gonna duplicate it on the other side, right? I don't know, we'll see. Maybe we'll stick around together and do them both sides, or we'll just do one side together and then I'll do the other side by myself. All right, so let's go ahead and trim some of this now. I'm just gonna leave one blade out and we'll see how that works. And if I need, well, I'm gonna do two now. Okay, now let's go ahead, trim down this part here. Let's see, can we just tuck in there just a tiny bit and cut on the material? We'll see. All right, let's see how if that worked at all. Yep, all right, great. Okay, and then I got us just a tiny bit underneath that edge, which is nice. And then right here, we're just gonna come to where I can actually see what I'm cutting. Come around, down over here. All right, perfect. Perfect. Okay, that looks really good. Let's take this up now. See how we're looking. Looks like did I get through? I did, okay. Well, part of it I didn't. There's a tiny little piece here that didn't cut all the way through, so let's put out a blade and then kind of work our, well, we need to put some tension on the material right here. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see this, hopefully you can. Go up just like that. We want to come right down to a barely little tiny sliver. Okay. All right. And then let's tuck this all the way down back in there. Great. Okay, that looks really good. Now, let's come down this side and let's see. Are we gonna be able to just push back in there again? So let's break it loose of the grill. And I think this part you have to be really careful. Like this part back in here was just barely touching the material to trim it, because I think that this is probably, the bumper probably goes in like this, and then this part is an add-on. I wonder how that comes off, actually. I mean, it's a little late for that, but it'd be nice to just go underneath there and just trim out underneath there if this is a separate piece. Kind of appears that it is. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of just pull this tight to keep it out of our way. And first we'll come down this part here. So I'm actually gonna go all the way back up here to our relief cut, and I'm gonna come down this way like this, and I'm just staying right on the edge of the paint there. And then we will come down and come right across this. And then you want to make sure and keep all this stuff out of your way as far as when you're coming down. Because see, you're going to bump into this material here. So let's try that and see what that looks like. See if we can get a good tear here. Great. Just take your time when you're tearing this, because you don't want it to tear off the wrong direction. Because this one could go either way. I mean, if it happens to catch an edge, it could tear in a good way or a bad way. All right, and then let's go ahead and push this down. All right, so that's quite a ways back in there, and it's really stuck to the paint back in there. So I'm gonna put just a little bit of tug on that. And then, because it pulled it off the paint just a little bit back in there, then we're gonna go ahead and come right down in between these two. Okay, that looks good. Oh, look at that. We could have actually just pushed. Oh, well, that looks really good though. We're good. I mean, not that that was going to be good. I don't know why I said that like that, but oh, that looks good. Of course it does. Okay. All right, so now this area is kind of a funky area because really all bunched up in here. It's kind of a, you know, you got to get this material to lay down kind of and get out of your way. Something like, maybe like that for this back spot here. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and cut through because it's not quite hitting the paint right here. And then I'm going to hold it away from the paint. Some tension. We'll go up like that. And let's see where we can bring this back together. Right about there. All right. And then this bottom part. All right, and then I'm just going to come over to this piece here. We're going to go ahead and come down this way, come out towards the front, around, and then back to our other, where we finished cutting right there. All right, great. Let's push the rest of this back down. All right. All right, I do, unfortunately, with the way this was all bunched up in here, I end up leaving a little water pocket there. Womp womp. So, let's go ahead and break the needle out. I mean, you might be able to push that down and out. I just don't want to take the risk of damaging the material right here. It's pretty decent. I mean, for a tiny little water pocket, it's got a decent amount of water pushed into this one spot. All right, so I went ahead and just poked through, and then we're going to push everything towards the syringe needle, pull this out while we're pushing down on it, and voila. Beauty. Like it never happened. And then we heat seal the edges. That should get some decent heat on there, and it'll heat seal that hole right back up. Okay. Let's go ahead and go across this top here now. It's going to be a bit of a headache. All right, so I'm going to pull this. Let's get you a better angle here, huh? All right. Since this is way back up under here, I'm going to go ahead and try to like kind of tuck this stuff down so that I can cut across here. And we're going to go ahead and just cut like straight up all the way across. So just make sure you know where you're ending. We're going to be ending right there. And then we're going to be starting right there. Let's get a brand new fresh blade. Okay, I mean, let's see though. I mean, we could just, let's just try. I don't know. See, I mean, what's the better way here? I mean, really, it's like I'm getting all crazy and really getting this material to tuck way back in there, but it's not really necessary. So it seems like it'd be easier if the cut was somewhere out here where I could actually see the edge. instead of doing it way back in there where I can't see anything. But let's just go ahead and go for that right now. So I pulled the material a little bit out so that it's not quite as far back in there, but it is still, you know, well back in there. And I just tuck in between the two. And when you're coming across and you're trimming something like this, you shouldn't feel any resistance at all, because we're not hitting anything with this blade. All we're doing is dragging this in the recess there, which is also helps keep us right in the middle. And you always want to know how far back in there you need to go with the blade, and then only use as much blade as you need to. Because if you get too far back in there and there's some paint work back in there, you could obviously hit that. You don't want to be just wielding a blade back in there where you can't see it. All right, so we've got some tack in there now on this edge. We're just gonna go ahead and push this back in there, get all this stuff down. Okay, that looks good. It's like pretty wet back in there. There we go. So you can pull down a little bit on the grill here, kind of get yourself a little bit more space to get the squeegee in there. It looks like we've got a tiny air pocket right here on this edge. That would have been nice to have noticed before. While we had the material out here, because we could have just pulled on it to pull that up and get that air pocket out. Now we're gonna need a little bit of a pick tool will work good. Okay, so we're right here. I'm gonna go ahead and just barely nick the edge of that material. And look at that, comes right up. And then we will push this out. Okay, and then this part, this little thing right here, material's not, there it goes. Okay, just need a tighter push on that. And it's stuck down. All right, and then we'll go ahead. So we've come across the front here and we've done most of this. Let's go ahead and get underneath here a bit. All right, so let me show you how I'm gonna deal with this. I'm actually just gonna, because this is the bottom, I didn't want to put a ton of stretch in here to get this to go all the way back, because then we were gonna have a bunch of tension out in this area here, and it's gonna be really hard to get this to go to contour in. I wanted to leave this as loose as possible out here. So what that's going to do though is leave us with a bunch of extra material where that's gonna be impossible to push down, right? So what we're gonna need to do is put a relief cut in this, and I prefer this much over putting something out in here for a cut on the material in order to get this to roll around and go back in this area. All right, so let's get some slip on this, because it has been, you know, sitting dry for a while, so it's pretty tacky. Now we're gonna be able to go, let's see, I'm just gonna go right here where this part comes down and this part comes over, and I'm gonna go through the material and straight down. Okay, just make sure that that's torn all the way up to where we started. Great. And then I'm gonna put this one down, and then we'll put the other one over the top of it, and then we'll trim it. Okay, I don't want that in there. You can poke yourself with that. Just put that right over there. Okay, so let's get this down here. Putting a little bit of tension on it, because there was definitely some fingers right there. Just breaking those fingers up and pushing it back so we can get plenty of coverage out of this now. And then continuing to push this down. Am I getting in your way? Probably. I'm really good at that. Okay. All right, let's get some more tack in here. Okay, all the way back. Great. Then we'll go ahead and trim this piece, and then we'll lay the other piece down. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put a cut on it right here. When I go over that little finger, I'll kind of do a little wiggle with the blade. You can hear a little squeak. All right, there we go. Tacking that edge. Squeegee it out. Okay, that looks really good. Let's get around over here now. All right. Put a tack in there. Let's see how this is going to want to lay down quite nicely. Okay, so I'm going to pull this direction a little bit just to help get rid of some of the excess material in here. Okay, and it wasn't a big tug, it was just a little tug. Okay, we'll take all this stuff all the way back in there. And it just wanted to pop up, so I'm going to go ahead and go back to there, and then I'll do a swipe and hold on that very edge. Great. Okay. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cut this off, come across, and then we're going to go right up this line and cut that off as well. Go ahead and start right here. Just going to come right along this line. Come right to that tip there. Okay, and then we'll come down here and we'll bring this across. I'm starting to run into stuff here with the back of the blade, so I gotta get a sharper angle on it, or I should have just come from the other direction. And then we'll go off the material, cut all the way through, and that'll give us a nice spot to tear from. Okay, great. And then when I get right here, I'm gonna take this real slow and I'm gonna start to tear back this way. Make sure I don't lose my tear line. It's gonna be a headache trying to get a new tear line right back there. All right, let's go ahead and try all this out. Okay, and we'll go ahead and push this down one more time. Get all that moisture out from underneath there. Okay. So when you saw when those two pieces were laid over each other, it came all the way to about here, which means we had all that extra material, all the extra that was going this way, and then this. So I mean, that, what was that like? So you saw when I took the material and laid it over this piece that it probably came all the way to about here, which means we had like, you know, like an extra inch of material down here. That was way too many fingers. We were never gonna be able to push that out. So you just trim that stuff off like that. And fold it over, trim down the line there. That's gonna look fantastic when this thing's back down on the ground and it's got some great coverage. All right, so on this spot, what we're gonna go ahead and do is kind of look back in here, see how much material we can wrap around. And then I think we're gonna need, just like we needed over here. Oh, you're not looking, you gotta pay attention. Let's talk about that all over again. All right, so I can see right here that just like we needed over here, that relief cut, we're probably gonna need one here as well, because that's going to be a lot of extra material bunched up, because I didn't do a ton of stretching downward because I didn't want a bunch of tension around this light here. All right, so for this area here, I'm going to go ahead and throw some tack in here. Like so. And then up here, we're going to go ahead and know that this, gonna find out where that's gonna end. We'll bring this back like this, and we'll go ahead and cut that. And then we'll go ahead and wrap this in. And let's go ahead and take some of this excess off so we don't have quite as much. And that'll help also get rid of some of the tension there when we start to roll this in. Because as this starts to roll in, it's definitely going to need to stretch. Okay, so let's get this down, and then we'll work our way up. All right, I'm getting this a little sticky because I didn't put any slip on this. Let's get a little slip on there. Much better. Okay. So now that's going all the way to that edge, which is great. Got a little finger there, so I'm gonna go ahead. I lifted that back up a little, and then we'll go ahead and get some more tack in here. And I'm gonna go ahead and put I'm actually going to do, let's see, I'm gonna do a little bit of a rounded thing right here. So actually I'm gonna do a little bit different than we did under the bumper. I'm gonna do like that, and come over, and then we'll go up where I cut to, and then we'll bring this one straight out as well. So material was looking like it really wanted to bunch up right there. So I'm gonna get rid of some of that extra material in there. And then this stuff, when you go to lay it down, is gonna like almost immediately fill that gap that we put in there. And then it'll start to overlap, and then we'll have to trim all that off. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull this tight so we can get as much of these fingers out as possible and get full coverage all the way to the edge. Okay, just like that, looks good. Great. Okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put this cut in here right now. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and decide where that's gonna be. So right about there, I'm gonna pull this stuff back. I'm gonna go ahead and cut through the material like that. Okay, just like that. It's just too hard to get the blade back in there. I could have done it, actually could have went this way anyway, but I didn't. So let's go ahead, we'll start up here. I'll take this tear up, get rid of that, get that out of our way. Okay, and then we'll start here and come on down. Hear the little bit of squeak. So when you're cutting paint protection film, you know, the squeak is nice, but you can also cut through the material with the squeak. So don't think that the squeak just means that you're doing a great job. What you want to be is you want to be on the lighter side of the squeak, because the too much pressure on the squeak means that you're cutting through. Start from up here apparently, and then we'll pull that down. Great. So basically when I hear that squeak, I try to let up just a little bit, and I'm trying to stay right between squeak and no squeak on that side of it versus squeak and through the materials. All right, so definitely got some fingers here. Let's see how those want to play with us here. They want to play well with others, or we're gonna have to not get full coverage down here. Let's see. All right, so let's go ahead and push this down all the way. Go ahead and go over the edge with this material, and then right on that very edge, we'll do swipe and hold. That'll help that stay stuck down for a moment while we trim the paint protection film. Now let's get ourselves a new blade. And we want to get back to trimming this off before these fingers come back up. Okay. over, turn, and then we'll come down and underneath over to where we finished cutting last time, right about there. I think I stopped a little bit short, so we will have to just tear that edge once we get over there. If we ever get over there. All right, so again, that swipe and hold. All right, let's go ahead and trim this off. Just not getting enough pressure on it. It's like a weird angle. All right, weed this off there. Great. Let's try out these edges now. Beautiful. All right, so we'll go ahead and start here, go around, and we can tuck down in here a bit, but this thing does not open, so you know, we need to make sure whatever edge that we do here, that we're going to be able to push it down without any problems. Okay, so something about like that will be good. And then I'm just going to leave like one portion of a blade out, and I'm going to go right in between these two panels. So, you know, the way that I pulled that back up, it leaves a gap back in there behind the material, so I'm able to cut all the way through without hitting anything back in there. And we'll get over to here, and we'll call that good for this cut. Let's go ahead and work our way all the way down to our cut here. Great. Fantastic. Go ahead and get some tack in that edge. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and push this down. Okay, that's great. Go ahead and get around this headlight now. Now this edge, this corner here, there's going to be some extra material, so what I'm going to try and do here is kind of come back up to the corner, and then we'll kind of work our way back down a little bit. And then let's get this pulled up just a little so that we can get a nice straight cut around here. So we'll stick back down to the headlight with that little bit of tension on it. Like that. And then let's see, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just, instead of that other cut I did just a moment ago, I'm going to go like straight down right here. And then from there, I'll come over a little and then out to the center there between the bumper and the headlight. Okay, so we did make it all the way through there. So let's go on our tear line this direction. Great. And then let's just leave out one portion of a blade there. And then we'll get right in between these two and come across here. Okay, and then at this point, I'll kind of make a little bit of a turn like that. Okay, then we're good to let that sit there. Get some tack in there. Okay, so that part's going to be able to go straight down, and then we're going to work this part down here. Just like that. Great. That's nice, because now that it's rounded over there a little bit, you won't see the edge on the hood, or you know, on the bumper right here across the top. Okay. Okay, and then in this part, because these do round in very gently, I'm gonna go ahead and try to pop this material up. Okay, just like that, and then we'll get a little bit of tension on it and lay it back on like that. Now, both of these panels round in very gradually, so we should be able to cut this right down the center and then get this to stick onto that edge of the bumper. Just really paying attention here. Watching the tip of the blade in there. Making sure I'm not hitting anything. Just feeling to make sure I'm not bumping into anything with the blade. Okay. Get some tack in there, and then let's go ahead and wrap this in. And then all this is going to get heat sealed as well. Okay, great. Okay, that looks fantastic. I don't know if you guys see that. I'm sure you can. Holy moly. Let me point it out to you a little better though. So this here was definitely a kit that somebody put on. So we wrapped all the way back in there, and this person with this kit, the material stops right where my fingernail is, but the bumper, or the, you know, whatever you want to call that, a fender, I'm not sure. I mean, it seems like a fender, but it's connected to this part that is a hood, or not really a hood. So it stops right there. So you've got a gap of about 1/4 inch. That's kind of unfortunate. All right, so just thought I'd point that out for no real reason. You know, that's the nice thing about doing, you know, bulking, is that you don't get that gap because you make it yourself, but also this kit would have installed way faster. All right, terrific. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and cut this other side out by myself, and then we'll see you back here shortly. For you, it'll just be like, all right, so let's go ahead and heat seal these edges. So basically, I'm just taking the heat gun, we're going to heat up the edge a little bit and then get some decent pressure on it with our finger. And that area I really can't reach with my finger because the film is back in there just a little ways around on that rounded edge. Even that's not making it, so I'm going to go ahead and use this here. Perfect. And then this all down in here, we kind of did wrap down in a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and heat that up. And I'll get what I can with my finger. And we'll take this and run it across in there too, just in case I wasn't able to touch it with my finger. And basically you want to be very methodical about your heat sealing process. You want to make sure and get, you know, work your way all the way around the bumper. You don't want to miss any sections. Okay, just heating that up and pushing it down. All right, we'll just keep working our way around the bumper here. Now, if you happen to come up on a spot that isn't fully stuck down to the car yet, it's best to push that area down first and then put some heat on it. Because if you have like an area sticking up right here and you're heating this whole section, well, this area that isn't stuck is going to absorb a lot more heat because it's not going to be able to transfer the heat to the bumper like this area will, because this area is actually stuck to the bumper, if that makes sense. And that can cause you to overheat that section of material. When you go to push it down, that part that it was sticking up will wrinkle over on itself, and then you're going to have to trim that further out to get rid of that little wrinkled up area, because that's never going to lay down smooth after it's damaged like that. You also want to be careful on the edges. If you go over them too hard with something like this, like in here when you're going across, if you get to an area that's really gets tighter and you put too much pressure on the material on the edge, you can actually, because the edge is heated up, you can damage that edge a little bit, and it'll get kind of rough looking, and then it'll almost look a little bit white, and then you'll have to cut that off as well. There's no way to repair that type of thing. All right, and just kind of look and make sure everything's stuck down. And then as you're heating this up and going behind it with your finger, so right here I can feel, actually I'm gonna jump around right now. I can feel, well, I thought I could feel a bump. Oh, I can. There's a water pocket right there. So just from sliding across this, I could feel that there was a bump there, and that lets me know that there's a water pocket stuck right there. So I'll go ahead and take care of that with a needle here. What was I saying? So as I go across this with the heat, basically you want the glove to be sliding pretty freely across the material. If you happen to run into a section where the material is a bit stickier to the touch, then what that means is you're getting the material a little hot, a little too hot. And you want to be careful in a situation like that. It's very easy to overheat the material. So at that point, you either want to slow down or you want to speed up, which isn't the choice that I usually make. My choice would be to get the heat away from it and then maybe turn the heat gun down. But you could also just speed up. All right, so we've got a water bubble right here, and you can see I've pushed that down into just to make this bubble really bulge, and that is going to make this a little bit easier, so I stay completely away from the paint with the tip of this needle. So I'm going to poke just right in to that, and then I'm going to push everything out towards the needle, and then I'm going to put my finger over the needle, and I'm going to pull the needle out, and then that allows all that water to escape. So when I'm pulling this out, I actually like run it across my finger like this, because if you drag it like that across the material, you can actually scratch the material. So I always bring it up my finger like that. That way I don't have to worry about the tip of the needle damaging the material. All right, there was one little spot here that didn't want to go down. It had a little bit of a finger to it. So I basically just heated it up a little bit and pushed it down. That would be a problem if it was out in the open, but because it's underneath, it's totally fine, and wasn't concerned about that at all. So I just put a little bit of heat on it and then just pushed it down. It'll stay just like that. If you were concerned about that, then you might have to lift up the material a little bit along the edge and then get that to lay down where you didn't have so much of the finger in one spot. Kind of spread it out and push it back down. Then you put heat on it. All right, so all these areas are tucked under just a little bit. So we're gonna need to try and get something else underneath there. That doesn't even fit, so I'm gonna use this side. Okay, and then we'll heat this edge up back in there. And under here. Okay, so back in this spot again, and then we'll take our card and run across there with it. Okay, we'll go across this edge. And that's getting back in there again where I can't reach it with my finger. Just want to be careful, like I said, because if it does get too tight in there, you can bunch the edge of that material up. So if it starts to feel like you're really dragging in there, then take it out and flip it over and use that side. So I'm just pushing that down back in there. Since I can't really see that edge, I'm just making sure that it's pushed down. And then now we'll go ahead and put some heat on it. We've got this relief cut here. I'm gonna put some heat on.
There's a section of this back window that they cut all the way through to the liner randomly. Just cut it off right there.
Yeah, just take it straight out or whatever. Straight, yeah, it doesn't, that's fine. All right, and then back in here, it is back in there a ways again. All right, there we go. Take care of this relief cut. This process is pretty tedious and pretty boring, but it is very important that you make sure you're doing this on your installs, because this will make all the difference for comebacks and edges popping up that then are going to catch dirt. It really helps eliminate that and gives your, you know, just a better finished install longevity wise. All right, and then for some reason, it looks like right here, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see that in the camera, but I've got just the tiniest line there of white, like a white line. The material must have been tacked right there, or on this part it must have been tacked, and then this was free, and then we pushed this down in and it put a little tiny stretch right there, which then caused a little white line. So we're gonna go ahead and put a little bit of heat on that, and then I'm just gonna take this card and I'm gonna go right across that line. It's very minor, but actually I don't like the way that one's running across the material. So I'm gonna use this one here. And so what this did was this completely got rid of that white line, and then the little tiny distortion that was in, that's gonna be in the adhesive is, I mean, this is very minor. So that, it's like completely invisible now. Not that anybody was gonna see that on this kind of underside anyway, because it's so minor, but just takes less than a minute to correct, so we went ahead and did that. All right, a little tiny relief cut there. Make sure to get some heat on that. These areas that have a lot of tension, it's really important to get those areas with tension heated up. That'll allow the material to kind of relax and really get stuck there, and then the chances of that popping up are just slim to none. It really does make a big difference for longevity. You know, like let's say that this area was going to pop up. Well, now I'm pretty certain with after the heat, it's not going to. And that relief cut, heat that up and push it down. All right, so we've made it around the whole outside of the bumper, and then now what we're going to need to do is to come back and get areas like this here. So put a little heat on that, and then we'll use the card here to get back in there. All right, let's get around this one. I need to get a new one of these, huh? Yeah, that's pretty wasted. Okay. Replace that today. So it looks like there was something on the paint, or in the paint right there. So it's leaving a little silver line around it, a little silver circle around this dot. So I'm gonna go ahead and heat that up, and then I can use this edge and kind of just massage over it, and that'll help hide that. All right, great. So we've got all that heat sealed, and now we'll go ahead and install a piece on here. Now, the reason that I heat sealed that before starting on this is because this car sat overnight, and so all the edges are dry. So I went ahead and heat sealed everything I had finished the day before, so that when I start putting water on there, we don't re-wet those edges and then have to wait for them to dry again. So now we'll go ahead and get started on this center section, and then this car will all be finished up and ready to go home.
Perhaps in your experiences that I've brought up to this point.
Alexa, pause. All right, well, now that we're to this point, let's go ahead and get this bottom piece on. I did cheat a little and I went ahead and cut this out with the computer. I've got a bunch of stuff to do, and I've already spent way more time on this than I was allotted. So let's just get this put on here and get this thing down the road. All right. So I still did make an adjustment to the one that's in the computer, and what I did there is that they have this part as one piece that goes to here and then a second piece on this part, and I want to go ahead and try and cover that whole thing with one piece because I believe that it's possible, although you know the squeegeeing there is going to be a little bit awkward because you are going to have to hold the squeegee and go up like this. You're not really, I mean, you can do some of this, don't get me, well, I guess you could do that. Actually, that might be fine. Let's see how that goes. I thought this grill was going to be more in the way than it is. So let's go ahead and get a piece on here and get this back to the customer. All right, let's grab our piece of paint protection film here. Okay, let's whoop, whoop, whoop. Hey there. Trying to jump out of my hand. Okay, so we'll go ahead and lay this in place, and then I think what I'm gonna do is just go grab a chair here. Look at all that stretch, actually. Holy moly. That'll be interesting, huh? I guess that's all there to get rid of these fingers on the bottom. That's a lot of stretch. I mean, we're talking about from here to here, you're talking about like an inch of stretch, and the steam machine is not warmed up. All right, well, I mean, it is what it is, right? It needs what it needs. Oh, this is so much better. This is so much better with the lift. Oh my gosh, I should have done this a long time ago. I mean, look at this. And it could go up higher. I could stand and do it. Anyway, all right. Okay, so we'll go ahead and start right back here. Some tack in there. Let's get this lined up really good. So I'm just looking at all these edges and getting it lined up real good and then pushing it back as far as it needs to go. Right about there. Okay, we'll go ahead and get this squeegeed out. Great. Now let's get all this lined up here and get the stretch in it that we need. Okay, so that's where it wants to end right there. And then let's see what that looks like for the rest of this. The other thing is that you want to kind of try and line up this piece here as well. So we want this to be semi-straight up there so that we know that we've got everything turned the right way. And really, you know, this is an older pattern at this point. So we are, you know, obviously working with something with it that isn't going to fit as well as it would these days. But I think if I turn like and just push this back a little bit, which create a finger here, but that's going to give us the coverage we need, and we'll just have to work with that minor finger there. Okay, so let's squeegee all this out, and then let's get some tack in here, and we'll work our way up this back area. Okay, and I'm even going to tug it back that way just a little bit. Have to be careful though, because I put some tack in there, so this stuff's going to really want to stick now. Okay, so right about like that, which actually is a lot of finger out here. There we go. Okay. See if we can kind of break up that finger a bit. Like that. Push it down. And then we'll go there. And then we can go kind of up the back here. Now take your time in this recess here, because you don't want to leave a bunch of water in there, or any water in there. Let's go ahead and wet all this down. And what we're going to do now is stretch over to here and get this lined up into place. Right there looks pretty good. And then let's bring this middle down so that we're not hanging over the top there. I'm going to put a little bit of tension on this to get that to go all the way into the corner. We need to bring this down a little bit. So right about there. And then this part needs to come down a little bit as well. Right about there. Okay, I just was pushing with my thumb there, put a little pressure, and that allowed us to get that part to like pre-tack just a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna squeegee this bottom out like this. Okay, and then keep that down. We'll bring this stuff this way and then we'll come down with this. Okay, so what we want to do is finish all the stretching, because the stretching is where the problems are going to come about as far as leaving distortions and things in the material, in the adhesive. So we want to get this stretching done while everything's still not completely cured yet. So I'm going to hold here so I can pull down to get rid of these fingers, and then I'm going to line this up back here. All right, that looks like it's going to work out. So I'm going to just try to put a little bit of tack in there. And let's get this guy back in place again. Then we'll pull down a little bit on this. Like that. Okay, great. And it's starting to pre-tack a little bit. And that's just basically pre-tacking. I'm just going to say that it's tacking before, well, a lot of times it's before you want it to tack. In this case, we did want it to tack. But I'm going to say pre-tacking in this situation was just it tacking before we squeegeed it out, which is something that we needed in order to get that to stay in place so I could use my other hand freely. Okay, and then we will worry about this little finger later. We'll worry about this hole underneath here in a moment. Let's take care of this area that's out in the open that's gonna be very visible. Okay. All right, so let's see. Yeah, I don't know about that, you know, trying to just pull like this, because the problem is that this recess here is gonna wanna pop up. So let's get as much of the water and air out of there as we can. And then we'll do like this and just go through that recess first. And then we can take that up. Because when I'm doing it this way, yeah, I just don't like the angle that it's keeping on there. All right, do make sure that you're getting all the water out and everything. Okay. Oh, there is a water pocket right there. Let's take that guy up. Like that. Okay. Great. Okay. Go up. Okay, I'm being pretty aggressive too with the pressure I'm using. If you have problems with this moving around at all, the material, then you want to put some tack in there. Fortunately, you know, this is really sticky. Or it's quite sticky anyway. I mean, over there we didn't even need any tack, right? I was able to, any of this stuff really, a lot of this we were able to just get it to hold into place with our fingers, putting a little pressure on there. All right, let's get this guy out now. Okay. All right, great. And then we will go ahead and just put water in this for starters, or some more slip in here. Okay, and then we want to make sure that all this is, we're not leaving any moisture behind on this rounded edge here. And we can go ahead and push this all out. Now we've gotten to some spots where we've got a little bit of extra material here. So let's get some tack in there. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring all this back up like this. I'm just gonna get some tack in there. Okay, let's see if we can get all this to go down now. So I lifted that corner up because I'm hoping what I can do is push some of this extra material to the corner and have it go away. Okay, it's really doesn't want to work with me here. So I'm going to go ahead and put just a little bit of snow. I'm not going to do that. Okay, this is going to be interesting. Let's see what we can do here. Get this down. Okay, let's lift some of that up again. I'll take that down like that. Let's lift up this back edge here. It definitely has a lot of extra material in a little spot, so it doesn't want to go down without creasing over on itself. Okay, so it came up basically to where it was just a slip solution there. What are we gonna do about this? Try pulling this way a little bit, pushing some of this down, and we can see we can work out with this finger if we keep kind of taking it out this direction. Okay, that went well. Now let's see if we can get the rest of this down. Let's get some tack in there. All right, so I took some of the finger that way, which hopefully we caught in the GoPro. And then I'm gonna go ahead, and there's some fingers that had come back up. So I'm gonna go ahead and push those out. Fold it over just a tiny bit on itself there. So we're gonna pull that back and push that out. Great, okay. So now here, what I'm gonna try and do is pull this direction a little bit and get rid of some more of those fingers. Okay, beautiful. I created a little one there, but I'm sure that that is gonna stay down with a little bit of just drying out that edge. Great, okay. So we were able to get rid of all that. Still popping up, but with a little bit of heat sealing, that's gonna stay down. We've got these guys right here that don't want to stay down, but let's make them stay down right now, because eventually they're going to leave a mark in the adhesive right here if they continue to pop up. Okay, then we'll try that out. Okay, and let's try pushing this guy down one more time. Oh, we got a little bit of moisture right there. Creeped out underneath the edge. Okay, and I'm gonna just go ahead and leave. I'm gonna go over this one more time here. See if I can get it to stay down. And if it doesn't, it's not a big deal. I'm gonna just wait and then put some heat on it in the end anyway. So that'll make it stay down. It looks like it's staying down. We'll double check on that though. All right, let's go ahead and pull this up back this way a little bit. I'll wet all that down, and then we'll actually come up with this as well here. Okay, right like that. And I'm gonna go ahead and throw a little bit of tack in there, and then we're gonna come over here, and I'm gonna put some tension on this here, like this, and then we're gonna push this down. And now see how we have this big old finger here? I'm just gonna keep kind of convincing that thing to continue to come this way until we can get it to go away. Okay, great. Now we've got a little finger here, but we didn't do any stretching this way yet. So let's do just a little bit of stretching that way. Squeegee that out. I don't like that. This finger came back right there, and we know from the other side we don't want that if we can get rid of it. So I'm going to put a little bit of tension like down and back till we get past that part, and then I'm going to let go of the material and let that relax. And what that's going to help with, it's going to help it with, so right here I got a lot of stretch, right? And then right here where I let go, this was able to shrink back down and relieve that stretch. So this part is going to be tacked and stretched, and then this part here released, and that's a lot less. Let's see, how do I want to say this? Okay, hang on. All right, so what we did there was I pulled on the material, I put some tug on it and got rid of this finger, and then we started to squeegee it out, and then at some point I let go of the material, let this shrink back down so that there's not a bunch of tension on it, and then laid it down. So what that's done for us is pretty much ensured that that's going to go down now and stay down and not pop back up. And the reason for that is that if you were just stretch that way out here and then squeegee it down, there's a whole bunch of tension on that material, and all we did now was relieve that tension so that we're not worried about it trying to shrink back up over time and pop up. So, because that was quite a bit of stretch I was putting on it for such a small spot anyway. Okay. All right, everything's looking really good here. I'm going to go ahead and dry out this top edge and just basically go around this whole piece and dry out all these edges. Make sure that everything is stuck down. And then we'll go ahead, heat seal this. Everything looks really good underneath here. That has stayed down. Okay, let's dry everything off. We got a couple little fingers here. I'm gonna put some heat on that and see what it does. And then it would be probably wise to trim this off because it is hanging over a little bit, and that's what's causing those fingers to come up. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and put some heat on this. And right here, the material is still sticking up a bit. So if you're putting heat on that, you wanna just be really careful because you can overheat that material real easily. Okay. Push all this part down. Work our way across the bottom here. All right, I'll give a little bit of extra heat in this area because we did do a lot of stretching and a lot of manipulating the film in this area. So if you're gonna have a failure, that's where it's gonna be. And so a little bit of extra heat doesn't hurt. Just kind of seeing if I can tuck that edge right over. I mean, it's just barely hanging over, but I'm gonna have to trim that because if I just tuck that little edge in, it's just gonna pop back up on this customer at some point. There's no way that's gonna wrap around and stick to something, so. But let's just make sure that edge is really good and stuck down. All right, and then we'll get all this heat sealed down. Okay, let's come across this top here. You know, I must say that with kits, my favorite part is having these smaller parts like this in there with kits, because you know these spots, especially on cars with a ton of this type of black, like in little pieces, it gets super tedious trying to trim all that. And the kits now are so good, and you can just put those pieces on instead of having to cut them out yourself. That is a huge time saver. Now this one, because of the adjustments we had to make to it and the weird stretching and stuff, I don't know that, you know, how much time we actually saved on this one. But the kit fits pretty decent, I'd say. And for a 2019, it fits really good. All right. Great. All right, there's a little piece of material here which must have been from like a second. I must not got a good first cut on this or something. Must have done a couple trims there. So it was tearing off of another line. Let's see, I can see that sticking out there. There we go. Okay, good. That was just bothering me. All right, so let's go ahead and trim this now. So because we just heated all this up, you want to make sure that it's nice and cooled down, because trimming paint protection film when it's hot is difficult to do, because it is a self-healing film. So obviously when you're cutting it, it's trying to heal itself when it's hot. Okay, right there. Try to get our fingernail. Oh, perfect. Great.
Is the Lotus coming out of here today?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
it's coming down pretty quick here.
Oh,
Why?
You're finished?
Yeah, just about.
What? We might be able to go home and get it?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, went ahead and got some tweezers. I was able to stick my fingernail in there and break it loose. Okay. Perfect. All right, terrific. Well, that's the whole process of installing paint protection film on this bumper. I hope that you found that helpful. If you did, like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.